Dog fans, we're back. We're talking playoff against Ohio State. Ohio State fans are here.
It's soon.
It is so
It's coming
soon.
up, Clint.
Daniel, we were just talking. It's been too long.
It's been a minute since we've watched this team play.
Soak it in, y'all. This is special. This is great. Today on the podcast, I'm going to ask Daniel a series of questions. Which would he rather have in groupings? Dog fans, play along because this game is important. And I got 3 indications that it might go our way next on Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel. He's Clint. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. If you're here on YouTube, subscribe, click that thumbs up, and head over to the audio side of the podcast. We're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, sir. We're on Apple Podcasts. Just search for Locked On Bulldogs. Subscribe or follow on those places. That helps us out a bunch. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on those platforms as well if you can. We would greatly appreciate it, and it helps out the pod. So, Clint, it's been a while since we've seen Georgia play. If you think it's been a while since we've seen our team play, just imagine being an Ohio State fan. Because while we were competing for a championship and winning a championship,
what were they doing?
They were practicing physicality. That's what they were doing, according to head coach Ryan Day.
So they were practicing when they went back home, and they were
sitting at home. They were practicing being more physical. So that was
those
what
couch
they were
cushions
doing.
got a real workout.
Real workout. So Georgia, on the other hand, been a few weeks since we've seen them play, and today we're going to talk about some players who might have an impact in this game. We're going to talk about some statistics that if they go a certain way, that would be a positive impact for Georgia's chances to win this game. 3 takes Clint's going to give me. There's a Segment 1, we're going to do take 1. Segment 2, we're going to do take 2. Segment 3, we're going to do take 3. The take 5 is an underrated candy bar, Clint. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but the take 5 is...
Here's what I need y'all to do. Keep on handing those out at Halloween to the kids.
Yes.
Because the kids won't eat them, and you know who's going to eat every last one of them?
They won't get a chance to because I'm getting in that bag early.
I love those take 5s aren't
Reese's, if you want to sponsor the show, reach out to you boys. We get a take 5 segment. We do it every week. This is a no-brainer.
This is a no-brainer.
All right. What do you got for me, Clint?
Take 1. Here's the first question I have for you, Dan. Take 1 is this. You get to choose one player.
Okay.
From this Georgia team. I'm gonna list
Carter.
3.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to list 3. No,
I'm
that's
gonna
fine.
list 3.
I'm going to take, no matter who you list, I'm going to take Jalen Carter.
I know.
Anyway.
Jalen Carter is not one of the 3 because I don't know.
Take him. So, spoiler alert: this segment's not going to go how you thought it was.
So the draft, we're not to the draft yet, Daniel.
Oh.
We're not to the NFL draft. Where no matter what the GM, whoever's walking up, like just scratching out the GM's pick, you're like, screw that, Jalen Carter. I'll announce it. It's legal. I'm going to give you 3 names. You're going to choose the player to go off in this game. Maybe have the best game of the year. You get to choose who it is.
This is who I predict will have their best game of the year, or who I hope will have their best game of the year.
You get the magic wand, and this is you are choosing a name right now.
I am
gives
saying
Georgia the best chance.
If I want Georgia to win, I'm going to make this guy have his best game. Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Love it. Let's do this.
Okay. Darnell Washington, Big O, name number 1.
Okay.
Name number 2, Malachi Starks. Name number 3, Mr. Lassiter. These are the 3 you get to choose from. Have the best game of the year for the best chance to Georgia to win against Ohio State. Who would you say needs to, out of those 3, go off on Saturday?
Now it's tricky. You got to look at floors and ceilings here. This is what you have to do.
Thank you.
You've got to look at.
You're playing into the segment, Daniel.
You've got to look
I
at
love
floors and ceilings. Kamari Lassiter has played fantastic all year. Really high floor guy.
That floor is exceptional.
Darnell also really high floor, because when you say best game of the year, you don't necessarily mean like a casual Georgia fan might. You don't necessarily mean a bunch of catches and touchdowns, because Darnell Washington, we know, real Georgia fans know, impacts the game in so many more ways than catches and touchdowns, but probably would indicate that he would have some catches and touchdowns as well. Malachi Starks, I would say, of those three guys, has the lowest floor. We've seen some trouble from Malachi Starks. Bottles and buckets.
Bottles and buckets.
Third segment listeners know. Bottles and buckets. So, but now we're talking about best game.
We're talking their ceiling. Their best. They reach that best.
Now, I say you want to take your low floor guy. Mm-hmm. And you want to give him the high ceiling. You want to give him the best game, because when we've seen Malachi play well, we've seen him make plays I don't think anyone else on the roster can make.
Correct.
And that's not an exaggeration. So I think I know what I'm going to get out of Kamari, and I think I know what I'm going to get out of Darnell. But if you tell me I could make Malachi Starks play his best game as a Georgia Bulldog, better than he played week 1 against Oregon, better than he played in some of these SEC games midseason, yeah, I'm going to take that, because that gives me everything I need in the back end of that defense, because I know what I got in Christopher Smith. I'm not worried about that one bit. Now I know that the back end of that defense is secure. What's the only way that Ohio State's going to beat Georgia in this game? By taking the top off and hitting big plays down the field. You tell me my safeties are going to give me that. So I go Malachi Starks, best game of his career.
I would also have to agree with this. Lassiter got that dog. He's going to be just fine. He's going to come up and run support. He's going to do everything required. Big O can have a ho-hum day and still just with one hand shove an entire defensive line down 2 spots from where they were. Okay. So
there won't be a single NFL offensive coordinator that watches the tape of this game that thinks Darnell Washington has a ho-hum day. I promise you, none of them will watch this tape and go, well, nothing special from that guy today.
No. But if you're telling me Malachi Starks could get that Oregon-esque, that even tracking down Mizzou.
Yeah, we're talking about now multiple interceptions he's going to have in this game. We're talking about every coverage, every batted ball.
I'm telling you this right now. If he's on in this game, like we could talk about pressures and we could talk about getting to CJ, and we've seen some indications that if you get to him, just like we got to Bryce, just like we got to Hendon Hooker, that it's not going to go as great. It's a truism. Okay, you get pressure on the quarterback.
You get pressure on the quarterback, they don't do as well. That's what happens.
A football principle. Okay, yeah. But if you're telling me Malachi Starks is back there hawking balls and covering the options down, and he has to check it down, and then we're going to rally with all those guys already mentioned from yesterday's pod. We got Pops, Christopher Smith. No, give me the ceiling of Malachi. 100% couldn't agree more. Yeah. We're going to come back after this. I got another question for Daniel, but first I want to let you know about BetOnline. BetOnline's your sportsbook experts. Right now, you get over there and you get all the game lines that we have already taken and may drop.
No, not anymore. Forget about all those other games. You get to BetOnline.
Okay, here we go.
And you leverage it all.
It's 6.5. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. Vegas knows. People, Vegas knows. Go look at stats. Go look at statistics. Covering the points in a college football playoff game doesn't happen rarely. Winning as an underdog doesn't happen rarely at all. I think it's happened one time in the college football playoff. One time. Get over to BetOnline. Just put it money line, points.
Whatever makes you happy.
Make sure it has a UGA in front of it. That's all we're saying.
That's all the betting advice we need to give you.
BetOnline, your sports book experts. Daniel,
Take 2, Clint.
We're in agreement. Let's go to take 2.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you. The thing about it is it's got peanut butter, but then it also has
take 2, a take 5
caramel and pretzels. It's the pretzel that really gets you.
Caramel has 2 syllables. Is what 2 syllables, not 3 syllables. We were saying it's not caramel.
Caramel. Yeah, I said that. I said 3 syllables. I don't say caramel.
Well, Sorry, we were both talking back and forth, and
it's not a caramel.
It's a
Do
caramel.
people from Ohio say caramel? What is that?
I
Who says
can't.
that? Who says caramel?
Midwest people got a bag of bags.
I'll tell you what people love, Clint.
The banter.
And they tell us about it, so they love this banter. They cannot get enough of it.
2 sets of 2, all 199 people. 2 sets of 2, Daniel. I'm going to give you combo.
What a small little man. What a
small
tiny man that is.
I'm going to give you 2 sets of 2. Okay. So 4 names I'm going to give out. I'm going to break them down. So Take 2 has 2 sets, 2 combos.
And I'm choosing one set of 2. One tag team duo.
One tag team.
I'll take the Road Warriors.
Oh, every day, all
every
day.
Y'all. Hawk and Animal. Ohio State fans. Laurinaitis. That's your guy.
That's your guy.
I made a Road Warriors reference. That was for you.
Cute. That's for you.
Here we go.
Now we're endeared to them.
People helping people here. Everybody wants to be a part
of
it.
I'm going to give you 2 sets. You're going to choose the set that you want for Georgia, again, to have the best day possible.
Okay.
You can only choose one. So the other half, I'm not saying what they do. I'm not going to say they're doing bad.
They're just going to do what they're going to do.
They're going to do what they're going to do. Okay.
Here we go.
You can either have the combination of A.D. Mitchell and Ladd McConkey. Cook.
Okay. Cool. Just cook. Just out there. Just boop. Just cooking.
Doing what they do. Like we've seen. Getting behind
we've seen
defenses.
It.
We've seen it.
Alabama fans, have you seen it? Raise your hand if you've seen it, Alabama fans. Okay.
They're not here, Daniel.
No, they're in the Sugar Bowl, a game which, if they win, you will never be able to take away from them.
You can't take away that banner.
You'll never be able to take away that
dare
trophy.
You. Or Milton and Kenny Mack have the best game of their entire season. So fully healthy, fully 100%. Both these groups, they had injury designations before this game. Ladd McConkey, Milton. We've seen Milton come back. It seems like he's almost near 100%.
That's a name we didn't mention yesterday when we were talking about the health of this team. But you want to talk about a guy that's now fully healthy, and you can see a difference. We're not talking about the difference between 22 snaps and 19 snaps a game, healthy versus injured.
We're talking Cat is on a different gear. He was working with 4 gears, and it turns out he has 7. I don't know where the 7th came from. It's overdrive. So these are the 2 combos: either AD and Ladd Cook or Kenny Mack and Milton Cook. Best game of the year. Which combo are you choosing out of that?
Let me just say this. If either one of these combos have their best game of the year, Georgia's going to win this game.
Just steamrolling and running away.
I think the only unit that can stand in Georgia's way from winning this game is the Georgia offense. That sounds weird, and we might get into it more later in the week, but I honestly believe like self-inflicted wounds and weird
turnovers,
stuff and
interceptions, fumbles,
bad third down play call, some bad third down stuff or some drops or some whatever.
Yep.
I think penalty, like a awful holding or false start or something on third down.
Yes.
I think that's the unit that could stand in Georgia's way of winning this game. I don't think the Ohio State offense or the Ohio State defense can prevent Georgia from winning this game. But yeah, I do think the Georgia offense. So if either of these 2 things happens, Georgia wins this game. So I'm not worried about.
Okay.
It's just a matter of which one gives Georgia the best chance of winning
higher
the game.
odds.
Which one makes me feel the best?
Well, that could play into it as well.
I think I'm going to choose Kendal and Kenny, Clint. I think I'm going to choose these backs because we talked about it yesterday on the podcast, third segment listeners. We talked about the physicality is the thing.
There it is.
That separates these 2 teams. Physicality is the thing that, and you're not going to, no matter what the outcome is on Saturday, you're not going to hear anybody saying, well, Ohio State really came in there and punched Georgia in the mouth, and Georgia didn't know what to do, and they were reeling, and Ohio State just physically dominated them. That's not going to be what happens. And so for Georgia to come out and impose their will, and for those 2 backs to have a day, now we're talking about. If they have their best games, we're talking about Kenny Mack may have 70 yards receiving.
Oh, I was going to say, Daniel, his best day receiving
and 100 yards rushing
is over 100. He's going to have 100 and 100 would be his best day.
And then you add another 100 on top of it from Kendal. And I just think you'll break this Ohio State team. You'll just break them. They are already have to have so much PTSD from
Michigan.
just getting their ass whooped by Big Brother Michigan. And so for us to come in and do that to them, not only would give us such a great chance to win the game, I think you would see Ohio State quit, honestly, at some point in this game. And everybody likes a good quitting story, right? Like, everybody likes a good story where, the other team just, that's vintage 2017 Kirby halftime speech stuff right there.
Oh, my gosh.
That's
Break
got keep
them.
chopping written all over it. Make them wish that they had never signed up for Pee Wee football as a kid. Like, that's the kind of stuff you could see.
Make them wish that Inception happened from their father that said, baseball's a better sport, son. Go play this.
And if Georgia doesn't have great performances from AD and Ladd, I don't want that to happen. But there are other options. There are no other options in the run game. Okay, Dejan Edwards is not going to carry this team with 150 yards rushing or something.
And he won't get the chance to. You're exactly right on this because we're going to rotate. So even if Kenny Mack and Milton aren't getting good traction, we're still going to roll them out there. They're still going to get 7, 8, 9 carries apiece throughout the game. So Dejan, if he's cooking, might get one good drive. But then the next drive, we're going to keep the fresh leg theory going. And you're exactly right.
Other options at receiver. You got guys who can pick up the slack.
Darnell.
Absolutely. We talked about it.
Bell.
Yesterday. Run the 13 personnel.
All day long.
The 13 personnel.
I think, this is my personal opinion, the most important player for the success of Georgia in this postseason is Kendall Milton.
Because it's not bad. It's not a bad
because
take.
If Kendall Milton is what we saw the last 2 games, we are truly unstoppable. Like I'm not saying that that's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you there's no defense left in college football that can both stack the box against this size speed combo at running back with our offensive line going. Now Kendall fully healthy can make guys miss, can read, and our offensive line is blocking so well. But even if they weren't, his side speed combo when he's healthy, breakaway, breakneck speed plus physicality. If he's cooking, and then you got Kenny Mack coming out of the backfield, catching, doing his thing, making a man miss in the hole 1 foot. He's got his head on straight. But Kendall Milton, if he's right, this entire offense is on rhythm. And now T's and P's to defensive coordinators trying to go against Todd Monken, because this is the cog that stirs the rest of it. This is the straw that keeps it going.
Go back and watch that national championship game and talk to me about those Zamir White runs, especially early second half. That's the kind of that's the guy that Kendall Milton can be. It's that late last year Zamir White, and that's the guy Georgia has not had.
There were 6 minutes in that game, Daniel. 6 minutes against Alabama, and Zamir White was crushing souls 6-7 yard clip at a time, and the clock
we just kept looking at each other. We just kept looking at each other, saying, "Do not do anything else.
Feed,
just give that man." That's what you could see out of Kendall Milton.
And if that's the case, you shrink the game, you shrink what the defense are doing, and now all of a sudden, again, hand on hips, they're gassed. And what's coming? Oh, how about just a little quick pass out to the left with Brock, and now you have to run and chase him? Good luck. You're done. No. You're toast. We're going to come back after this. I'm going to ask Daniel, take 3, one final question, but first this. All right, Daniel.
Take 3, Clint.
Yeah.
Third segment listeners now.
Bottles and buckets.
Bottles and buckets time. Here we go.
Get your bottles, get your buckets.
Let me just say, that Friday night show, I just want to keep giving all the disclaimers because it's the night before a playoff game. You don't really you don't know what you're going to get from your boys. Okay? So just could be ugly. We're going to try to incorporate an excited, nervous, don't sleep on. It's probably just going to be one of us with our head in a bottle and one of us with our head in a bucket the entire show.
And it could vacillate between the two. Yeah.
It'll just be on a...
Yeah. And right now, you couldn't take odds on which one of us would start the game or start the pod in which situation.
It's
real. Okay, bottles and buckets, Daniel.
Here we go.
Take three. You get to choose three. I'm going to give you a statistical category. Okay. And you get to guarantee during the game this statistical category happens 3 times.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right.
I think I understand.
Do you understand?
If I don't, I'm sure you'll explain it to me when I get it wrong.
Look, I'll tell you, Daniel. I'm really good at telling people when they're wrong.
Okay. That's why you interact so well with Ohio State fans.
That's why reason, logic,
this
all
is
win
why
out.
Clint's in charge of the Twitter. Because
This
he's
is
really
why-
good at telling people when they're wrong.
Oh my gosh, Ohio State fan, you're unbearable. You're unbearable because at least with other fan bases, they kind of know they're stupid. You genuinely believe that you have integrity and that you're coming with facts.
Well,
Like your Midwest nice can't help but just ooze out of you, and you can't just be an absolute idiot.
what if I told you they owned a yacht?
Yeah. Look, you
said integrity. I say yacht.
I can't, but they're synonymous now. Your chancellor of integrity is on a yacht somewhere right now, and I can't say who he's with or who he's not with.
We don't know. All we're saying is we don't know if it was Brady Quinn. We don't know. There's no way to know.
I can't prove.
We don't
Shirtless
know
Brady
if,
Quinn in the
if the
reflection.
man's last name was Laurinaitis or not. We don't know is all we're trying to say.
All right, so I'm going to give you a statistical category. You choose which you get 3 of during the game. 1.
Okay.
3 sacks from Jalen Carter.
Finally, Jalen Carter.
I know. You were waiting for it the whole time. 2. You get 3 runs, not pass plays. 3 runs of 50+ yards.
Okay.
Or stat 3, 3 passing touchdowns from Stetson Bennett.
Only 3.
Only 3. 3 sacks, Jalen Carter. Okay. 3 runs from anybody, whatever their name is. I don't know their name. 3 rushing plays of 50+ yards. Or 3 passing touchdowns from Stetson Bennett. Again, these are guarantees.
All right. This is interesting because none of these guarantee a win.
Nope.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. There are none of these that in my mind.
I didn't say 3 turnovers.
Yeah, right. If Georgia wins the turnover battle by 3, right? That's you put in the bag. But 3 interceptions returned for touchdowns or whatever. Yeah, like that. None of these are guarantees in my mind. So in my mind, I have to go to what's the one that makes the win the most likely.
Correct.
But there's another factor at play. So if I could just talk out my answer, because I don't know what my answer is yet. But
this is external processing. You're seeing it real time.
I'll get there. Yeah. One of these is likely to happen on its own.
Oh.
And only one of these, I think, is there any chance of the natural course of events exceeding 3?
Yep.
Right? So the Stetson Bennett touchdown passes, there is a chance in some realm of natural happenings that, like, he throws 4 or 5 touchdown passes.
Correct.
There's very little chance Jalen Carter gets 4 sacks in this game. There's very little chance Georgia has 4 50+ yard runs in this game.
Yes, the probability and possibility numbers dwindle when you talk about those 2 categories.
And yet, I think if Stetson throws 3 touchdown passes, that has a greater impact on Georgia's ability to win the game. And so I'm in a bit of a corner, bit of a catch-22, because the one I want to choose, which I think gives Georgia the best chance to win, is also the one that limits.
Yeah. So what you're saying is 3 touchdowns from Stetson is likely, and if it happens, we win. So it's kind of like, well, don't touch that one. That one's going to happen on its own. So what can I add on top of that to make our chances even better?
Yeah, but there are also plenty of outcomes where Stetson does not throw 3 touchdowns. And if I can guarantee it, then surely we're going to get a rushing touchdown and a field goal. Ohio State's not going to score 30. And so if we get a rushing touchdown and a field goal, we win the game.
Correct.
That's what I'm betting on, and that's a pretty decent bet, right? If all you need is a rushing touchdown and a field goal and you're going to win the game, That's a pretty good bet. I think my choices are Jalen Carter and Stetson Bennett. I think I have to throw out the 50-plus yard runs because
I was trying to, since you said you're going to throw, I was trying to sucker you with that one because that's Michigan recipe for the win against Ohio State.
Yeah, that was just big play after big play.
They hit huge runs, broke it off, touchdown, broke the will.
And I can't remember, did
Ohio
Michigan
State.
win that game? Somebody leave it in the comments.
Look, Ohio State fan, you're going to tell me why it was a fluke.
Somebody
so just
leave it in the comments. They had a guy hurt, probably. It was probably something
all
like
of them.
Well, they hadn't practiced physicality yet, so of course
they were getting to that. They didn't want to practice physicality until it was a bye week.
They didn't want to show too much
of a championship that maybe barely got them into the playoff. They were playing the long game.
I think I'm going to go Jalen Carter sacks 3. Okay. Number 1, because that is just 3 times more likelihood that we get to see him lift C.J. Stroud over his head with one hand. And that's what we're all tuning in for. That's what everyone in America is watching this game for. It's not the final score that anybody cares about. It's the Simba moment where he holds up C.J. Stroud like he's. Now, I think.
Will there be a paternity suit from Jim Harbaugh if Jalen does that? Will he be sued by Jim Harbaugh for who the rightful father is?
There could be.
Okay.
There could be something, or there could. I mean, yeah. Just expect some backlash because if you come at somebody, you lay a hand on one of their kids, like that's something people don't take lightly. They do not take kindly to that.
No.
And so while Georgia's getting ready for its matchup against TCU, expect some mean tweets from Jim Harbaugh about how disrespectful we were to his son. No, I think if the interior of Georgia's defensive line is playing like that, if that means chaos is happening up front for Ohio State. I mean, that means things are just broken. We're talking about it's a recipe for not just sacks by Jalen Carter. Does that make sense? Like it's
indicative of a whole culture of our defense, and a little bit with the running game too. Like you typically break off runs. Flukes can happen, but you typically break them off after chopping, and then boom, you break one. Chopping, and boom. Stetson Bennett, I think, is going to get 3 touchdowns. Exactly to your point. I think that's kind of, if you could give me odds 2.5, I'm going to take the over on those total touchdowns. Jalen Carter gets 3 sacks. It means he's cooking. And as he cooks, so does this defense.
The whole offensive line just starts sliding to him. It really is.
That's what I mean.
It really is it changes your entire offensive game plan. You're not used to double teaming defensive tackles.
No. You let them stay in the middle where they can't do harm. And then when the pocket collapses, he's up in C's face. And all of a sudden you got Bullard coming in from the outside. You're sending Kamari Lassiter.
Chaz Chambliss coming from the outside. You got Robert Beal coming from the outside.
It's a whole stew.
You have a stew going.
Hey, come back Friday, bottles and buckets. Mm-hmm. Bring them all, loyal third segment listeners.
I think tomorrow we're gonna have Locked On Buckeyes on, and so
that's right.
We'll do.
By the way, Daniel, you know what we gotta do? We gotta do. Look, this has been far too long. We have to get the winner announced for the college pick'em tournament that we had all season long.
That still that happened.
It happened, Daniel.
I was so bad at it that I assumed that the whole site had shut down. Yeah. No, that wasn't great.
It wasn't great for Daniel. We're going to announce that. Come back Friday. We're going to give the announcer. We're going to do Excited, Nervous, No Sleep On, as well as Ohio State crossover episode. This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We will see you guys tomorrow.
See you.